Welcome to Down to Earth Astrology and Primal Girl Wellness. This is Miss Jenny and I am your astrologer. And this is a special video because thanks to the generosity of one of our subscribers, she's allowing me to use parts of her transit report for the month to give to you guys as both a teaching tool about how to look at transits against your own chart, as well as a sample reading so that you can get a feel for what it would be like to actually have a reading with me. And also for those of you who are struggling with this Pluto transit, maybe you can have a more optimistic take on things. Enjoy the video. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so when we're looking at transits and planetary aspects, one of the first things we want to look at in chart is looking for the big dynamic aspects, right? And you beautiful woman, oh my God, you have this big, juicy, honking T-square in your chart involving your personal planets. So we've got the moon here, right? And we've got Saturn here, and we have Venus here. Now, you know, I'm not going to lie, this is not a happy combination. And you have the Sun conjunct Hayatum, or the Pleiades constellation, which is a lot about the Weeping Sisters, right? So one of the things that I would hazard a guess with is that in this lifetime, you would have seen, and you are old enough to have lived a good portion of your life by now, you would have seen more than your fair share of tears and betrayals, you know, and cruelty, and a whole lot of other unjust things that are just not okay, and certainly more deeply affected by it than other people are. The other thing is that in this lifetime, I would suspect that given everything you've seen and experienced, you have been given a choice many times to take the high road or the low road, and you have tried to take the high road every time, even though it might have seemed more simple, easy, and satisfying to take the low road. Okay. Now, the sun, whenever we look at a chart, especially transits, one of the things, the easiest and fastest thing to do literally is to look at the position of the sun and the house it's rolling through. Now, some people don't have their time of birth, so you just use the planets. And if we do at the time of birth, we're still using the planets. It's just that with the time of birth, we can get some houses and fine-tune the timing down a little bit. We can get just a little bit more information. So ignore Mercury, because Mercury's moving fast. We're not worried about that. The sun right now is at 15 Aries. Now, this sun at 15 Aries is, in terms of planets, no houses, right, is applying. First thing it's doing is it's applying in a quincunx to your natal Saturn. So there's a whole lot of ouch happening right now, a whole lot of uncomfortable stuff and not feeling great about ourselves or our life. This is a time of self-evaluation and, again, measurement. But it's also a time of maybe a little too severe judgment of ourselves. So understand that, you know, and don't be afraid to ask for some, you know, hugs or laughs or something from the people around you. And if you don't have any people around you, then go find them. Go find them, or maybe go give it. Maybe that's the key. Go tell somebody else a joke. As we get past this transit, which is going to move pretty fast because the sun's going to hit 16, right, within a day or two. This is a really fast-moving transit. You're not going to have to worry about it too much. However, because you've got other things happening, remember this gnarly opposition to your Pluto, right? And now we've got this on top of it. This is not the happiest time right now. So be kind to yourself and understand that this will pass. This will pass. It's just a moment. And as it passes, the sun in Aries will now travel up and start doing some, not funner, some better things, some less heavy things. The sun will, the sun first, well, not first, the sun will oppose your Neptune. The sun will square that Jupiter and Uranus, and the sun will sextile your Mercury. And that's all gobbledygook, I'm sure. So here's what we're looking at. The sun will activate your Mercury-Neptune square, right? Which is absolutely going to have you thinking you're going crazy because you're going to start thinking you're hearing voices or seeing things that suddenly aren't there anymore. All sorts of weird, like, woo, kind of things happening. You may or may not be losing your mind, so maybe double check with people to see if they're seeing it or if it even seems reasonable. I'm going to tell you right now, sweetheart, if the little voices start telling you to do bad things that are not natural to your nature, you're not getting messages from guides. Those are probably, you need to go see a therapist and get some medication. But if those little voices and whispers and things are warning you or protecting you or saving you from some worse situations, as you find out later, then you're definitely getting very clear signals from your guides. So trust them. And certainly explore it and learn how to identify which is which. The other thing is that as this is happening, because that sun is also squaring Jupiter and Uranus, and it's trining, and it's trining at Pluto towards the end of the month, or the middle of the month, the next week or so. Like, it's really, woo-wee, your chart's getting lit up like a Christmas tree, and we're going to write down those dates too. So this is a very, very active month in terms of personal development and psychic development, which you should have been working on all along. If you have, if you haven't already developed that, if you have already developed that and you have been working with it, you're just going to be like off the charts right now. So I don't even know how to help you with that, except make sure you're grounded. You've got some good supports, and fasten your seatbelts, right? Okay. Now, some things that are a little troublesome, but not as much as they were, is right here. This Uranus and Taurus. Now, so Uranus and Taurus, just a couple years ago, came off of your Venus, right? Which was destabilizing in and of itself. Should have been some financial upheavals, and certainly some relationship breaks. There may have been a relationship that was lost at this time. But that's over. Like, the worst of that is over. Sort of, because in a few years, and maybe this is why we need you literally turning the corner and really getting deeply involved with your ability to communicate with the other side and have them in active participation in your life. Because in a few years, or not even a few years, maybe another year or so, Uranus is going to move into an opposition with your Saturn. And when Uranus moves in because you're feeling it now, like, make no mistake, you are feeling it now. As Uranus moves into that opposition with your Saturn, one of the things that we can expect literally is the breaking of the back of the beast, right? Because Saturn Uranus aspects are tough aspects. It's like breaking rocks, literally. So one of the things that you're going to find is that during that time, as that opposition gets closer and closer and closer, you're going to find yourself in situations where anything that has been calcified into place in your life is going to get broken open and removed, right? So things that need to literally get out of your way so that you can grow, or you're going to suffocate underneath these things, they're going to be broken apart and removed. So this is good when you know what these things are and you know what those obstacles are. It's not good when we have been leaning on things that we count on for, the structure and stability of our environment, and we don't know that we're suffocating under this. We just know that it's familiar and trustworthy, which we like. We like trustworthy, and now suddenly that's getting ripped away, right? How could this possibly be a bad thing if this is the thing that's been holding me together all these years, right? Well, my dear, you are heading into great and profound, deep personal changes that are going to dramatically impact the way you express yourself, how you see yourself, and how the world experiences you. All for the better, if you can trust the process. So that's coming up, but before we get there, we've got to get you in a position where you can get the information that you need and the supports that you need and the safeguards that you need from all the directions you can get it, which also includes the ethers, or the other side, right? So we've got to get you set up for that, so that no matter what comes your way in the next year or so, you can tune in, turn on, and get the information that you need, right? Because at this point in your life, you have earned this. So when you're, the thing about it is, we go through these things a lot, especially when we're younger. We have these situations that we're faced with that are just heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, like faith-destroying. There's nothing we can do, and there's no turning in and turning on and whatever. Like, it's just trauma from beginning to end, And we have to get through it. We have to get through it because we just do. And we're here and we survive it, broken in a few places and definitely changed people for it. But we're here. Okay. The gift that you're being given right now at this stage of your life is that while you're not young anymore and not so easy to bounce back like you can when you're young, because youth gives us the ability to bounce back confidently and keep our optimism in the face of a whole lot of stuff. That's the beauty of youth. We are not young anymore. But because you're not young, the gift you're being given right now is the opportunity to prepare for profound and dramatic changes and releasing of things that are just going to be anchors around your neck if you have to keep them moving forward. And more importantly, the ability to become and reinvent an entirely different, more dynamic version of yourself. All of these things are there in front of you, and you get to decide what those changes are going to be. You get to plan and prepare for it, and you get to call in your support systems and your resources well ahead of time. So your gift right now is to work on your spidey sense and your ability to connect with the other side as a means of support and protection and assistance as you go through profound, wonderful changes in the next year or so. It doesn't have to be bad, but it will definitely not be easy. But remember, you are one tough cookie, honey, and if anybody can get through this, considering everything you've already been through, this is nothing. This is nothing. Okay, so what I would say, and also we've got this eclipse coming up. So what I would say is through the month of April, it's going to be not an awful month. There's a lot of really sweet, good things happening. So take those big breaths and moments of oh my God, yes, when you can get them this month, right? It seems kind of strange considering all that's going on in the world. But, listen, you've lived long enough. We both know, like, the world is constantly in upheaval. And if it's not, it's people stagnating. So those are our choices. The eclipse, and also too, now you're taking this series of eclipses through the year, the Scorpio Taurus eclipses, you're oh my God, you're getting them from both sides in your chart. The first eclipse we're having is going to be with Uranus, okay, right here, this, okay, which is going to pull in your Venus and your Saturn. So you're just getting clobbered with this eclipse. Does not have to be bad. Consider the things that are going on, or here's the way to look at it. Consider the parts of yourself that are being drawn forward and called upon for you to develop and access, right? To get through the situations you find yourself in as a result of this eclipse as a preview of the parts of yourself that you're really going to be refining and honing and strengthening and fortifying in the next year, right? Or over the next year. So whatever's going on the external side, and as far as the exterior of your life, your outer world, understand that's not the point. The point right now with this eclipse and this, with Uranus and the Saturn and the Venus in your chart, all of these things are about you pulling something from deep within yourself that needs to be developed and polished and shown off and really utilized more and incorporated much more into your essential being. So that you've got some tough circumstances you're going to find yourself navigating that are going to bring up some really painful emotions, right? But you're no stranger to that. You are tougher than nails, and this is all about preparing you for a great, profound change so that you can be a greater service to the world around you. Because you didn't go through all this for nothing, sweetheart. You went through what you've been through in this lifetime specifically because you're here for other people. Because remember, you have a genius about you, and your genius has a lot to do with being able to draw other people out of their pain so that they can heal. But you, my dear, are a masterpiece in the making. So we're still putting the finishing touches on you, which is why you're going to be going through this year. There you go. Okay. Alrighty, so this section of video is about Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Cancer and what many of you born in this generation that have this aspect are dealing with, and also a little bit about Saturn and Scorpio for those of you who carry it natally. Now, I was originally going to put the generous individual who gave me permission to use their chart. I was originally going to put their chart and do their monthly aspects as part of this, but there are some very deeply personal messages in their individual chart for the month, so I'm not going to expose any of that to you guys. It's private. Thank you very much. What I am going to do is cover this Jupiter, Uranus, and Cancer for her, and Saturn and Scorpio for her publicly, so we can talk about that for everybody else who's carrying similar aspects right now. I made a mistake. It's not entirely true. So these video segments are done out of order. The first part of the video is, in fact, just so you know, an excerpt from the transit reading I was giving to our lovely, generous subscriber. But again, there are significant portions of her private reading that are not here because not everything is everybody's business. So there you go. All right. So you lucky devils that were born with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Cancer. I know you probably don't feel like it's a lucky configuration, but it really is. Right there. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So one of the things that's happening, Ms. J, and the rest of you, is you don't need me to tell you, we've had Pluto, transiting Pluto, in opposition to that Jupiter-Uranus for a while now. So with that said, it's been interesting. It has been interesting. Now, Jupiter is, as we speak, in the last degrees of Capricorn. It's going to leave soon, thank God. But it has certainly wreaked a lot of havoc in a lot of people's lives. Now, for people who are carrying these late degree Cancer planets, Jupiter and Uranus, because remember, the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are transpersonal planets. These are the planets that have to do with things that are much larger than ourselves, and certainly circumstances that are well out of our control. So with Pluto opposing that Jupiter-Uranus, there have been, for more than a few years now, a lot of tumultuous feelings and psychological changes, and just a whole lot of bracing yourself, like, oh my God, Martha, here we go. Just bracing yourself for the unexpected, and feeling like every time you turn around, like literally one more out of just unbelievable, you can't make this stuff up circumstance comes out of left field, like literally out of the blue. So life has been, let me rephrase that. When life has been unpredictable in the last few years, it has been so unpredictable. A, you couldn't make this up if you wanted to, because nobody would ever believe you. And two, it has been destabilizing in some really, really, maybe even possibly traumatic ways. So the thing about it is, we look at this and say, well, what on earth are we supposed to do with this, right? And what lesson am I supposed to get with my entire life falling down around my ankles? Some of this, just so you guys know, some of this has a lot to do with ideologies. So with Jupiter and Uranus in Cancer, right, we have a very strong, high-minded sense of ideals. Jupiter-Uranus conjunct people, especially in Cancer, are extremely idealistic. They have very romantic, sentimental visions of the past and about family and society. These are beautiful things, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Nothing. These are beautiful, good, positive things. The challenge, though, has been that while Pluto's been moving through these late degrees, or even the early ones, depending on where your Jupiter-Uranus is, moving through these degrees in Capricorn, opposing that Jupiter-Uranus, all those things that you cherished and held near and dear to your heart and believed in, the golden rule and, this, that, like all the things we were taught you're supposed to believe in as a child growing up. If you do the right thing, you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? If you tell the truth, it's always going to save you. Like all the things that should be the way the world is supposed to work has been challenged, and in many instances, broken, like just shattered, broken confidence that there's anything that has any integrity in the world at this point. So it's been very difficult for this particular generation of people who are by nature extremely idealistic and extremely sentimental, right? And literally has a deep and profound love of, these cherished beliefs, to watch them getting ripped apart and broken in so many different ways by different circumstances and players and actors. So, that doesn't really answer the question, like, how is this supposed to make me a better person? Well, with Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, and it's in Cancer, one of the big challenges with that by itself is that there's a tendency to be so idealistic and so firmly committed to our beliefs and our ideals that there's no room for anything else. The lack of flexibility is the word I'm looking for here, or phrase, right? Lack of flexibility. So the commitment and the intensity and the passion, it's all there, but at the same time, there's also a lack of flexibility in terms of letting it be anything other than what you imagine. And Pluto coming down has literally really forced the issue about where we are the most rigid and the most inflexible, and the most damaging to ourselves. So in the places where we have been the most rigid and most inflexible about our beliefs and our values and our ideals, where we've literally not allowed any bend whatsoever, haven't allowed any kind of shift, change, or transformation, none. We're not having it. We're not having it. It must be exactly the way I see it, because this is the truth, or the real thing, right? This is genuine. Unfortunately, those are the very things that may not have survived the stress test and may have been broken or shattered or fractured as these circumstances have rolled through your life and forced you to re-examine what you believe in, or worse, lose confidence and faith in anything you believe in. So the thing to understand is that, again, it's about flexibility. So the things that are the least flexible and the most rigid are the things that will have broken by now, or will continue breaking as Pluto moves through here. And the whole point of Pluto doing this is Pluto is literally trying to let some light and some air in, because you can't breathe in a closed suit. Or what is it, a closed space suit. So if you find yourself really being challenged, rather than, getting your hackles up and really getting defensive and digging in, or fighting it, or getting, all those things, because that's what you do when you're trying to protect something. And there's nothing more noble than trying to protect your truth and your beliefs, right? Well, except maybe your family. In those situations, the way to survive this and get something good out of it with the least amount of trauma possible, is to let go of the control, stop trying to control the narrative, let go, open hand, relax, take a deep breath, and let some air move in there, right? Let things be different from what you thought they should be, because there may be a better version of it you don't see yet. If you can allow yourself to bend like a reed as the breeze blows by, and know that when the breeze passes, you'll still come back to the position you were in. But for that moment, you've got to allow yourself to be pushed gently over a little bit to make room for something to pass through. If you can be like the reed under the breeze, you're going to find that this transit of Pluto, especially as we go through the last degrees of it, ooh-wee doggy, will be a lot easier and a lot kinder for you to get through. Okay? Now, the other thing is that we had, for those of you who have Saturn and Scorpio, right here, this has been a particularly problematic aspect as well, because we've had all these Aquarius planets, one by one, setting up squares to that Saturn, really hitting you where it hurts the most. So, and again, there are issues of rigidity, right? And needing to be more flexible, but more importantly, trusting the process. Being able to trust that something different from what you can understand could possibly be a good thing, right? Honest, sometimes other people know a few things. You got to have a little confidence. Not everybody's an idiot. You got to have confidence. Now, all these Aquarius planets are moving out, right? Doggy, we're moving out. However, my friends, we've got these eclipses happening. Let me use a different color here. We do have these eclipses happening in Taurus and Scorpio, right? So if it's not the eclipse over here in Taurus, it's going to be an eclipse over here in Scorpio. And either way, your Saturn is getting banged around, bang, 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 like a ping pong ball across the table. With that in mind, understand that this is going to be a year of profound changes, which can be good. They can be traumatic, they can be good, they can be traumatic and good, or they can just be traumatic and you can get nothing out of them. With Saturn and Scorpio people, in this lifetime, you bear the burden of choosing how much you want to suffer, right? And a lot of that choosing how much you want to suffer has everything to do with how hard-headed you continue to be in this lifetime. And you won't see it. Oftentimes, Saturn and Scorpio likes to wear, the hair shirt to punish themselves. oftentimes you won't see how, like Putin with a cut your nose off to spite your face mentality, you won't realize how stubborn and dug in you're being until something breaks. And then you realize, if I had let go earlier, like I'd still end up in the same place, but I wouldn't be in nearly as much like trauma as a result of it. So it's the same thing. This year is going to be about transforming yourself, and also it's going to be for many of you, not all of you, but many of you, it's certainly going to be a test of your integrity. So challenges to your integrity are going to be huge this year. You're all getting your karmic final exams or midterm exams. And doing the right thing, the golden rule, taking the higher road, all those things that require you to be the better person than the person you're looking at, who's clearly not going to be the better person. Those are the challenges that you're going to have set in front of you over and over and over again. And it's your choice whether you can dig deep enough to find it within yourself to take the high road, right? And to not stoop to their level, or just take the easy way out and, eye for an eye, what is it? Eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth sort of thing. And, pound of flesh for, the offense. It's a choice. It's a choice. But the higher road is always going to be the better one, because the payoff at the end is always greater, because you collect good karma with interest when you rise above, the gutter, as it were. Now, with Saturn and Scorpio, for those of you who are born in this particular set of years where you've got Saturn and Scorpio and Jupiter, Uranus conjunct in Cancer, and certainly for our lovely individual I'm reading for right now, one of the beautiful things about this particular combination of planetary pairings is that it gives you a tremendous and profound sensitivity. So if there were anybody who were better able to offer safe passage, psychologically, emotionally, or physically, for other people who are too wounded to do it themselves, right? And certainly too wounded for other people to even know how to approach them, you guys are overwhelmingly qualified to be able to help someone else navigate to higher ground or to safety, so that they can do the repairs themselves. Now, this is not the same thing as carrying somebody on your back. Understand that. I'm not saying that you're here to be somebody else's Sherpa and carry their baggage for them. What I am saying is that in this lifetime, once you've done the work on yourself, or once you devote yourself to assisting other people find their higher ground, and allow them to have space without judgment. And that's probably going to be the biggest and hardest thing for you guys to learn in this lifetime also, is being able to be present without judgment, right? And that may be why you've needed to go through some of the hard knocks you've went through, because when you've gone through some stuff, you know better than to judge other people who are going through similar things. So you know from experience how hard it is, right? So that may be part of why you've been going through some of your stuff, is to literally remove the ability to be judgmental, which other people aren't there yet. Like, they still have to learn those lessons. But the ability to offer someone space without judgment, and assist them or facilitate their navigation to less toxic places in their life, or higher ground, as it were, is a powerful, powerful gift. And it's only given to very exceptional people. So if you are lucky enough to end up in that position, know that you have passed one of your exams, and you've passed with flying colors, because no one with any amount of divine intelligence would trust someone who is deeply traumatized with someone who doesn't have the integrity necessary to get them to the right place. The only time that happens, where someone is vulnerable or deeply traumatized and end up with someone who's going to hurt them even more, is if they've got some specific karma that needs to be worked out with that person. But you are not that kind of lowlife. You are here to bridge the gap between right now and future self for other people to become their best version of themselves. So while we're going through this, we've got all this Pluto stuff going on, this painful, messy, oh God, Pluto that's really shaking your confidence in your belief systems and your values and your ideals, and really ripping apart all that you thought was sacred and holy in your life, and true and genuine. Understand that it's only where you are the least flexible and the most rigid are you going to find that there are going to be cracks and tears and breaks and fractures. If you can be flexible and you can bend with the process and allow things to be a little bit different than what you expected them to be, which includes your own progress, you're going to find that this is not going to be a traumatic experience at all, and you are going to be given opportunities to become an amazing force for good in many people's lives. So hope this helps, and we'll talk to you guys soon.